Welcome to Sasquatch and Sourdough, the podcast where we embark on a journey into the depths of the unknown.
The mystery of life.
Weaving together threads of ancient scripture.
What do you mean, biblical?
Tales of high strangeness.
Tell them about the Twinkie.
Whether you're a seeker of truth,
We believe it's the heart of the house.
or simply hungry for a good story,
What about the Twinkie?
Sasquatch and Sourdough invites you to join us on a journey of discovery, wonder, and deliciousness.
They feel your methods, your theories are...
Spooky.
So grab your backpack, sharpen your senses,
Do you think I'm spooky?
and prepare to explore the sacred mysteries of our highly strange world like never before.
And that is the whole problem with aliens.
Well, welcome back to Sasquatch and Sourdough. I am your host, Christina, and today I am joined again by my beautiful best friend, Crystal. We're back in the kitchen. Good to be here. It's so exciting. So you guys have probably noticed, like, we took a little bit of a break after the holidays because I just can't after Christmas. It's been a lot. Between, like, Christmas, snow, sickness, David Lynch dying. Oh, David Lynch dying. So sad. Emphysema. Was it emphysema?
It was. Yeah, he had emphysema. And the story I heard is that during the LA wildfires, he had to be evacuated from his home. And he can't walk without the assistance of oxygen.
Oh my gosh.
So it took him out, so he had to leave, I guess, his oxygen behind. I mean, I guess he didn't have like a rolling tank that he could. I mean, it would be like,
no,
but
it was crazy. People were,
it's awful. Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Oh,
He was such a bright, shining star. Like, I was looking at like clips of him all morning. And one of my favorite clips is he was being interviewed by someone and they were like, "So, how's your day going?" He's like, "Well, I just had 2 cookies and a Coke. I feel phenomenal."
he really was. He was neat. He was so good. Like, actually, Russell Brand did a great, like, little, not even a video. He did, like, a post of, like, talking about him. And it was just so well written.
Yeah, he affected a lot of people. A lot of people were really enamored with him. He was very humble.
Yeah.
He wasn't like, "I'm a superstar, like, bow down before me." He was just a very humble man.
And he really understood, like, what it was to be, like, an artist and creative and and weird.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not scared to be weird.
no.
Yeah, we need more of that.
We do. I know, we do.
Again.
And the cool thing was that we had to, like, I was doing the same thing, like, looking through, like, videos and stuff. And I totally forgot that he did Elephant Man.
Oh, yeah, I know. You said that.
Yeah. And so my son was like, the Elephant Man, like, who's that? So then we got into, like, I was like, well, his name was, like, John Merrick. And that was just such a sad story to begin with.
It's a hard one.
So we were going through that, and then it dawned on me. I was just like, I made this, like, weird connection. I was like, oh my gosh, that means that, like, right now, David Lynch is, like, in heaven with John Merrick.
Yeah. And Laura Palmer.
So, yes. And if you're not familiar with any of his stuff, please just go watch Twin Peaks. All right? Do it. Do it now, which is usually what I do in January.
Oh, yeah. That definitely deserves a rewatch.
Yeah.
After all of this.
Yeah. So watch Twin Peaks, get inspired, be creative. But so anyway, like, yeah, it's been New Year's, like, the new year has been crazy. So we've pulled back a little bit. Crystal's schedule has changed. So things around the pod have, like, kind of, I don't know, naturally fell back into, like, a new sort of rhythm. So if you guys have noticed, like, we started doing Fellowship of the Fringe, I'm going to invite just content creators, podcasters to come over and hang out.
That's great.
And talk about like all the deep, weird stuff. So we're still doing all of our interviews and all of our stuff, like Sasquatch and Sourdough is more like the charcuterie board. And then if you want like the deeper, like the beef stew that's been simmering, Fellowship of the Fringe, you know, you can get that there. So
That's great.
yeah, that's all of our stuff, really like housekeeping stuff. But so, what else did I want to talk about? Oh yeah, I was going to talk about how I like totally acted like Mommy Dearest earlier, but we don't really need it.
Not much you want to.
No, the wires, just the wires.
The Christmas.
The
Yeah,
wires.
right
It
over
was
Christmas.
Christmas. I wanted to get rid of Christmas, and there was just like wires everywhere. And
I am also still living with Christmas. So it snowed here in Maryland
Mhm.
on the weekend that we were all supposed to take our lights down. I don't know about the rest of Maryland, but we decided to leave our lights up because it looks really pretty in the snow.
our lights are up.
Yeah, so it looks phenomenal, to use
Mhm.
that word again, in the snow.
Well,
And yeah, so we're still living with Christmas.
yeah,
It's just part of life now. It's never going away.
like it though. I know the joy, but now the joyfulness is over. So yeah, we had a really fun New Year's, and we actually had a really fun New Year's. We had like a really nice party with our friends.
And the best conversation.
We had the best conversation because Crystal decided to share with us an episode of something that she watched. So go ahead, just take it away because it's
Okay, great.
yeah, the floor is yours.
Okay, so my new favorite thing in the world is Florida Man. There's a show. I think it's on Prime. So basically, it's, if you've ever heard about Florida Man, it started where people were plugging in their birthdays and then writing the word Florida Man afterwards. So there's a different headline for every day of the year about something wild that a Florida man has done. And it doesn't have to be a man necessarily. It can also be a woman. So one of my favorite episodes of this new show on Prime, which is also titled Florida Man, it's about these women that cosplay mermaids for a living. And that's very popular in Florida. You know, It's sunny, it's shiny, it's mermaids.
We need a mermaid.
Yeah.
At this event.
So it's a group of women, and as any woman or man knows, when you put a whole bunch of women together, they tend to get a little catty.
Yep.
Or a little mermaidy. So the one lady was upset with the other lady, and she, I hate to say it, but she called her fat. And she took that very offensively. So they decided to get into a huge fight. And the one that was called Large decided that she was going to like go all out and just ruin this woman's life.
Oh my gosh.
So she bought the house next door to this woman just to mess with her. She was a practicing witch, and she would go out in the backyard and perform rituals with her police husband, her cop husband, naked with animal blood smeared all over themselves.
Yeah.
So the lady that called her not such a nice word was terrorized for months and months and months and months by this witch couple, naked, covered in blood, in the backyard.
It's insane.
I know. That's a Florida man story.
That-
In this case, it'd be a Florida woman story.
You're not like, you're so far beyond dabbling at that point. Like once we get into like, I'm sacrificing an animal out of revenge,
Blood in ritual sacrifice to torment someone.
it's beyond like ultimate trolling. Like you bought property.
And all of this because someone called you fat? Like, come on. Haven't we gotten to a time and age where we're not so affected by people's body weights or our own body weights?
No, but I have to say, like, I would imagine that there is a lot of competition in professional mermaid.
Yeah.
What do you call that? Like,
I don't know. I tend to view it as cosplay, but they're actually making really good money doing this. So it's a profession.
Yeah.
You're a mermaid professional.
well, we've gone to like kids, like little girl birthday parties where like the princesses, like you hire a princess.
Yeah.
So I would imagine this is like you hire.
You do. You can hire the mermaids for birthday parties.
Okay.
They also do a lot of swimming in like aquarium settings.
Yeah.
And so this is actually off topic. I didn't even remember this. We went on a sunset cruise in Ocean City and we met a real life mermaid. And she was in like the full body jumpsuit of like the scales and everything. And I was like, oh, I love your outfit. And then we just started talking. She was like, I'm a mermaid. And
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
my little girls were like in love with mermaids. And they were like, you're a real mermaid.
Oh,
The cutest. She was so cool. She like took pictures with our family and she like posed the girls and like gotten pictures with them. And she didn't expect any money or anything. She was just being a great.
yeah.
So she went on a sunset cruise on purpose to talk to the captain to see if they needed an on-deck mermaid that could jump in the water and swim for them, like during their cruises. I don't know how that all went, but
Oh, that's ultimate marketing.
yeah,
She like legit
yeah, she
was like,
marketed
I'm gonna do this, and then she was like, I'm gonna show you what I can do here.
Yeah. So I'll actually tell you, she has an Instagram handle. It's Mermaid Marie.
Oh,
And
Marie.
He will go in. She's also like a diver, and what was she? She was one of those rescue divers originally that would go down under the water and rescue people.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and she knows how to do like CPR, and she knows how to hold her breath really long. And yeah, she was just a really neat person. But anyway,
Yeah, so that's how you do it.
Yeah.
And Mermaid Marie, good.
yeah,
Crazy witch mermaid covered in cat blood, bad.
bad.
Like that's I don't know why we had to clarify that here, but you heard it first. I just like that is insane to me. Like getting back to that, like you have to like let's put it in perspective. Like somebody was just like, okay, you're a fat mermaid.
There's a market for that too. There's also there's a market for anybody being a mermaid.
Right.
We don't all look the same.
But then you were just like, okay, you called me a fat mermaid, so you know what I'm gonna do? It's like, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna buy the abandoned house next to you and terrorize your life. And just knack of pain.
And
Right. Ugh. All right.
Yeah, that's Florida, man.
So the reasoning we're talking about, because then we started talking, I was like, oh, that's right. We have to do a mermaid episode.
Because we love mermaids.
Because we love mermaids.
Who doesn't love a mermaid?
I know. Mermaids. So but that's cool because that ties into like you had a story about mermaids in Berlin, Maryland.
Berlin, Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this museum in Berlin, Maryland. It's called the Museum of Mermaids, or the Mermaid Museum, actually. And there was actually a good article done in the Smithsonian magazine about this museum. So basically, it's just like a bunch of pictures and sculptures and like folklore and pop art, stuff like that. I think it's open from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. So you got to get there early.
Yeah.
Berlin's a little teeny tiny town.
It's like a little beach town, like kind of like outside of Ocean City.
It's 30 minutes before you get into Ocean City. It's on the historic landmark. It's a very haunted town, actually. There's a lot of ghosts in that little town. I actually have a book about that too. So the Mermaid Museum is on the top floor of the old Oddfellows building. Now, if you've ever heard of like the Sacred Order of the Oddfellows, they're another like they get into like ritual. Yeah. And it's like a fraternity basically for men. It's been around for a very long time. And the building itself is haunted because of the Oddfellow rituals that used to happen there. They used to have like initiation rites of like real skeletons, human skeletons. And so it's like reported or rumored that some of the skeletons from the Oddfellows are still in the building. Like either like buried behind walls or like walled, like
walled up.
Yeah. So the first thing I think of is Edgar Allan Poe and like bricking up the wall with,
that was Telltale Heart.
No, that was the Black Cat.
Black Cat.
And the Clasp of Amontillado, I think.
Yes.
Black Cat was so big.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the building itself is haunted, which is like one thing. The other thing is all the mermaid lore, which it's just so cool, but there's like so many articles on this little building. Let's see right here. So if you've ever looked at like mermaid stuff, then there's this thing that people used to do in the 19th century where they would take the head of a monkey and the bottom half of a fish and taxidermy them together and pretend that it was a mermaid. So actually, P.T. Barnum, of Barnum and Bailey Circus. He was one of the people that promoted these taxidermied mermaids.
They were like curiosities. Yeah. Oddities.
Which
Yeah.
is perfect. In the Oddfellows.
Exactly. These are the Oddfellows.
Yeah. Just a lot of strange stuff.
We didn't come across Oddfellows. I feel like we, maybe in our Alex Shea episode, I feel like that keeps coming back. Is like these, the more we look into stuff, obviously we're going to find like synchronicities and things like that. But like, I feel like Oddfellows stands out to me for.
She had a connection, like she went into an old Oddfellows building.
Yeah.
So we don't know much about them, just like you don't know much about like Skull and Crossbones.
Right. It's like another order that's like kind of secret, but then there's also so many rumored, just like you're doing weird stuff, so weird stuff's gonna
when you
kind of happen.
Put ritual into any kind of fellowship, you're doing something that's not usual.
And when we're, I don't know, just with the human skeletons again, we talked about this like off camera, where it's like, I don't like that. Like, when I was looking into the John Merrick, like the Elephant Man thing, like he put himself on display, like as a curiosity to like make money. Like he knew that was like a way that he could kind of,
for like his family.
Well, no, because he was thrown out of his family. His mother died.
Oh yeah.
I did like because my son was curious, so I had to do like this whole like deep dive into the Elephant Man. And so anyway, like he basically. His father remarried after his mother died, and they didn't want to deal with him. Like, they abused him because he needed a lot of medical care, and it cost a lot of money. So they just kind of like threw him out. And then he, went different places. But then he found himself connected to some of these, I guess, managers of like oddity tours, things like, because the curiosity stuff. Yeah, basically they're freak shows. Yeah. But those at that time, that people like loved that stuff.
Yeah,
it was like how like and World's Fairs, things like that. Like that's how you saw the weird, curious things of the world.
I think that's basically where all
his bones are still like on display. So that's what we were talking about. Because I was like, I don't like that. I don't like the idea of like people's actual skeletons for some reason. Just like it just kind of creeps me out. Like
I feel like you need that for like scientific research.
Sure.
Like we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
Like okay, it's one thing to have a skeleton for scientific, like biological, research. Right. And it's another thing just to have one standing in your living room because it's like cool
and like goth and
goth. Like look how goth.
Look at it.
Human skeleton in my living room.
I know. And then you said like it just it would like come to life at night, and I just think of House on Haunted Hill with that skeleton, just like
your brain goes wild.
Right.
It walks at night.
I couldn't do that. Yeah. So, but so getting back to like the mermaid, like we're just kind of like putting together a monkey's head.
Yes.
And like
the oddities.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That's like what a skeleton or what an actual mermaid would look like. But we know that that's not exactly what people have been seeing, like sailors,
Yeah. So I had a good story. I mean, this is very well-known story. Captain John Smith.
Yeah.
He was traversing the Chesapeake Bay. He saw a mermaid, and he described it as having very large eyes, long greenish hair, and kind of like a round face. Basically, he was seeing a seal or a manatee. So with like seaweed on its but there's so many sailor stories about seeing mermaids, and most times it was probably all times, who knows, it was just mistaken identity of sea mammals
or driftwood. That's a big thing that people would say, like, oh, you're just misidentifying driftwood. But I don't know, like
when you're in the sea that long, I'm sure your brain plays tricks on you. Yeah. Because you're just staring at like a black expanse of nothingness, and then something pops up out of the ocean, and your brain probably goes haywire, like trying to decipher what it is. And like a human's brain will naturally tend to try to make faces out of things that they don't understand, and try to, your brain will trick itself into thinking you're seeing something usual, but not unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I found, back to Where the Footprints End. I can't recommend this book enough. By Timothy Renner. He just did such great research. So Where the Footprints Ends is High Strangeness and the Bigfoot Phenomenon. He took this is from volume 1. He just took every type of folklore that has a connection to Bigfoot and made this amazing, like, 2-volume work.
That's awesome.
There is a Mersquatch, apparently.
I can't even picture what that looks like.
Amazingly.
Like,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So basically, mermaids and mermen are reportedly supposed to be half human, half fish fairies. And so this kind of says, let's see here. Hang on. North American springs were invariably revered by the Indians as seats of earth spirits. So getting back to the earth spirits, right? Wrote Jim Brandon in The Rebirth of Pan to list all of these places around the country where oddities happen at the confluences of watercourses would be to fill the rest of this book with catalog and entries. And so he goes on to say that witnesses sometimes cite swimming Bigfoot. And so that's extensively chronicled in the book Raincoast Sasquatch. And so that goes like indigenous tales of Bigfoot diving for shellfish, to actually more like contemporary sightings.
Okay.
And so here's one. This is actually from that. So that was a book by Robert Alley, Alley. And this is a reprinted letter that was sent to researcher John Green describing a 1960 dockside sighting from Alaska. So the witness glanced up to see a human-like figure standing in the water halfway between the shore and the boat, just standing and staring at him. It had arms like a man and a head. It was probably wet and looked grayish color all over the head and body. It had round eyes, not big, like beady.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says, when the boy unfroze, he screamed bloody murder and ran blindly over the tied-up boats, back up the ladder and toward the shack, still yelling his head off. The men came running, some with lights, and about 30 of them saw the thing. They shone several lights on it as it dived underwater and swam away. They could see it underwater, swimming like a frog, arms forward over its head, but not doing a crawl stroke. The legs kicked like a frog. So, I don't know. That doesn't really sound like...
That's not a mermaid.
No.
Your legs are together and you have a tail.
Yeah.
And scales.
Yeah, and that doesn't really... I mean, the frog-like motion is like one thing, but...
I mean, I could swim like a frog.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Exactly.
It's actually a pretty easy stroke.
Exactly. Hold on, what does this say? Something moving powerfully through the water, but not using its arms. The witness quickly fled in his boat. This technique certainly strikes one as distinctively merfolk-like, as do the swim fin. Okay.
Okay. So that,
I mean,
swim fin?
yeah,
Kind of.
let me see if I can find another one.
So I hear the name Mersquatch,
Mm.
and I picture a very hairy mermaid.
Yeah,
Very hairy, very scary mermaid.
right? Oh, so this gets back. So this is kind of interesting, though. Hold on. Oh, this is like two fishermen following a skunk ape.
Off the Gulf of Mexico, I see.
Yeah. Oh, in Florida.
In Florida!
Wait a second. What does it say?
That's the skunk ape down in Florida.
Yeah, so Bigfoot of lower latitudes display an aquatic affinity as well. In 1955, a Mrs. Darwin Johnson of Indiana was swimming 15 feet offshore in the Ohio River, Ohio, when a large furry hand with claws grabbed her knee and yanked her underwater before she escaped, leaving scratches. Some nearby claim to have witnessed a UFO that day as well.
Perfect.
A fisherman cast his net into Washington's Nooksack River in 1967, only to discover a hairy man tugging back from the water.
Ooh, that is creepy.
And then in 1972, fishermen allegedly followed a skunk ape 29 miles into the Gulf of Mexico off Placida, Florida. Florida skunk ape.
I would imagine that they would be aquatic skunk apes because they live in a bayou or a swamp, essentially, and they would have to be able to swim.
This is calling them apes of the sea. This is interesting. Merfolk were, so this is, there are further connections to draw between simians and merfolk. So in this book, Timothy Renner, it's very, very sort of concise paragraphs. So it's a lot of information, like in big sort of chunks. So I kind of like that. You have to kind of like really read through it.
That's nice.
Yeah. And then because he just like connects it to like, so now we went from like Mersquatch to like, now we're getting into ogres. So it's kind of connecting all of the dots of folklore. It's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
So he says, merfolk were not restricted to the sea either. A tale from Unst describes mermen shedding their tailskins before dancing on the beach. That's interesting. In 1741, explorer George Wilhelm Steller cited what he referred to as a sea ape with a whiskered dog-like head and fish-like tail off Alaska's Shumagon Islands. Because Steller is credited with describing several species later proven genuine, some cryptozoologists speculate merfolk represent an undiscovered aquatic ape.
Right.
While compelling, our discussion focuses on merfolk vis-a-vis fairies. Okay, so he's kind of taking it back to that.
I mean, well, that kind of makes sense too, like an evolutionary standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
We have your mammals of the sea, and that had to be some type of evolutionary phenomenon where mammals had to take to the sea and, you know, lose their feet or...
But also kind of ties back to the fact that we just have no idea what is under our ocean.
Oh, yeah.
That's a conversation that's like really big right now.
Yeah.
Because of all the like UFO stuff.
I have a good story about that too, about the Flying Dutchman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of the thing is like we just have no idea. There's so much stuff that's in the ocean that we just don't even, we have no clue. Let me see here. Wow, there's like a lot in here. Okay. So the most famous historical account of an aquatic wild man comes from Ralph of Coggeshall, a British monk who penned Chronicon and I don't know what to say.
Spell it.
Chronicon Anglicanum in 1200. Oh, wow. Okay. I'm going to read this whole thing because this looks awesome.
Okay.
Men fishing in the sea caught a wild man in their nets. He was naked and was like a man in all his members, covered with hair and with a long shaggy beard. He eagerly ate whatever was brought to him, but if it was raw, he pressed it between his hands until all juice was expelled. He would not talk, even when tortured and hung up by his feet. I don't know why we're doing that. Brought into church, he showed no signs of reverence or belief. He sought his bed at sunset and always remained there until sunrise. He was allowed to go into the sea, strongly guarded with 3 lines of nets, but he dived under the nets and came up again and again. Eventually, he came back of his own free will, but later on, he escaped and was never seen again. So, what the heck was that?
That's 1,200.
That's 1,200.
Nose.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It just, like, what?
That's really cool story.
Where was that? Where? British monk.
A British monk.
Hmm.
There's so many things in this world that we don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, if you try to chronicle everything, it's impossible.
It's insane.
There's so many stories of the unknown. And I can't stand it when people are so close-minded. Like,
And you have to categorize everything.
yeah, there's no
Yeah.
Bigfoot because we don't have any skeletons.
Yeah.
It's like, well, they could have burial practices that we don't know about, or they could be shot through a portal into another dimension that you don't know about.
Yeah.
Say that.
I know. I know. It's like, don't, I just said this on like 3 podcasts that I was just on and talking about. Like, don't autopsy the mystery. Like, why can't we just have the mystery?
Just have the mystery.
You know, why do we have to dissect everything?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just ruins it.
Like the proof seekers.
Yeah. I don't want like, I think I get wrapped up in that, like, sometimes, though, where I just, like, I need to overthink everything. And it's just like, no, why can't we just, like, tell a fun Bigfoot story?
Yeah.
Like, everything is already so serious.
Mhm.
Like, your feed is so serious right now.
Yeah.
Like, I want to hear about the weirdo guy in the water from the 1200s. That's crazy.
They tortured that poor thing, and it's so bad.
I know.
He was probably just as curious of them.
Yeah, what was that? I'm gonna have to look into that.
Maybe he was like a sentry, you know, and
Yeah.
like sent from his people to like figure out what these weird white people were doing on the surface.
What are these weirdos doing? Timothy Renner, if you're listening, help. We need to know more.
So can I read this Flying Dutchman story?
Yes,
I won't read the whole thing. So This is from a book that was put out in the 70s. It's called Cape May Ghost Stories. So
And it's like so 70s right now.
they're 70s.
I'm gonna have to like put a picture of it up.
It's by David J. Siebold and Charles J. Adams III. So Cape May is in New Jersey. It's on the eastern coast, like very close to us.
Mm-hmm.
So this one is about, let's see, a commercial fisherman, Dick Hess of Goshen, Cape May County, has been going to sea in search of its bounty for more than 25 years. He is familiar with the lore of the sea-going individual and aware of the long list of superstitions and traditions that are part of a sailor's varied being. He is doubtlessly familiar with the legends such as the Flying Dutchman, the phantom ship that is said to fly the seven seas, the sea witch which lurks around the Delaware breakwater and guards the treasures of ancient wrecks. So if anybody knows,
The Sea Witch.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have another book too about shipwreck of the Delaware coast. There's a lot of them.
So there's a big Sea Witch festival every year in Delaware, like by where my mom. We have to go this year.
Yeah,
Like by where my mom lives.
yeah.
It's so fun, and they make like floats, and there's parades, and it's like super cool.
Yeah. So I'm going to skip through most of this, but basically, so all was quiet, and the two men on the weather deck were admiring the solitude of the evening and the particularly star-spangled sky. In an instant, a bright light came out of nowhere and slashed across the sparkling overhead vista. At first glance, it appeared to be nothing more than a brilliant and alarmingly close shooting star, a fairly common sight on clear nights at sea. But Dick and Jackie watched intently as the white light seemed to hover a distance away. They paid particular attention to its speed towards the Cayman, at a speed the two men estimated at 40 to 50 miles per hour.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I'm going to go further. The light seemed to be attracted to the boat and continued to come closer until it shined up from under the hull of the Cayman. It seemed to be sizing up the vessel as it paused for a few seconds and shot away from it quickly, disappearing into the depths. Again, no wake, no sound. The show was over. There never was enough time to wake the captain and crew members, and while the brief but memorable event was unfolding, neither Dick Hess nor Jackie Hall could release themselves from the grip of the hypnotizing and baffling light.
Ugh.
Isn't that cool?
It's like a UFO.
That's what it says. It says they could only figure reluctantly, as they may, that it really was a UFO. It's not an explanation they're comfortable with, but it's the best they can do.
So again, because we keep finding these like synchronicities, there always seems to be a Bigfoot. Like it's a UFO. Like there's always something. And I wonder if we're gonna like start getting into this like as we like grow the encounter map and we kind of make all these connections. I wonder if it's almost like elementals, right? Like so something there's an event. There's something happens in our natural realm.
Yeah.
But something's occurring in the supernatural, and then is it affecting like our air, our earth, our water? Like I wonder if that's like if we could draw those correlations. That's just wild.
I actually skipped an important part of this story, but it says the light was actually beneath the surface of the waters. It was shining up from the sea. As the boat approached the light, both men shuddered.
They were seeing like underwater UFOs in the 70s.
And they were saying perhaps it was an aircraft that crashed into the ocean.
I don't know. I feel like recently that kind of stuff is being quote, debunked because of the way that like the water, like they can tell it's just from deep down because of the way that the water, like it reflects. I don't know anything about science, so I'm probably just...
I don't either.
Yeah. But that's like kind of like they're already sort of debunking that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Let the scientists figure that out. But that's crazy because we're seeing that now.
Well, I mean, it was just disclosed that we have underwater unidentified space.
Yeah.
Not space, unidentified craft coming out of our oceans and flying up into the, into the ether.
What if it's like totally disturbing the marine kingdom? I mean, you guys can go down. I don't want to do that here because I'll probably just want to like lock myself in a closet at that point. If I go into like the deep dive of like marine kingdom, people love that.
Yeah.
Like, the supernatural, the spiritual, all of that sort of like the elementals again coming out. But like,
But the movie The Abyss, right? Yeah, I mean, that explains it perfectly.
Exactly.
They saved him, and they took him into a little bubble of oxygen. And
Yeah.
we're like, oh, we're not so bad.
We saved you. So this past holiday season, so my mom lives in Delaware, and we visited her. We went to Lewes, and they have this really cute little it's like a trolley tour of all the lights in Lewes. So it started in 2020 when everybody had to kind of stay home, and they would decorate their houses and do these big displays of Christmas lights.
No.
And so they took the trolley, started doing tours around Lewes. So it was really cute. So we decided after that, we went to the, there's a museum in Lewes that it's called, I'm going to really ruin this, but it's the Zwaanendael Museum. It's kind of their, I guess, sort of their historical society.
Okay, yeah.
But it's really fascinating. It deals with a lot of shipwrecks. It's a whole ton of if you love shipwrecks and shipwreck maps, they have a whole map of shipwrecks of the entire Chesapeake.
I love that.
It's really fascinating.
Yeah.
So we spent some time there, but it was cool because the one of the curators was like, "Oh, have you seen our merman?" And I was like, "No, but now I'm ready." And it's exactly one of those things. One of those little the ape's head. Yeah.
With the fish body.
Yeah, and so I want to pull it up because I took pictures of it.
You should post a picture of that.
I want to because so it's just super creepy. The way that, I mean, I guess if you're in a pinch and you just want to create something really weird, you would. I mean, it makes sense. Somehow you get some sort of ape's head.
Yeah.
But it's just really the creepiest thing. But the cool thing is they found one of them. I'm trying to pull out my picture here because my phone closed it. It's a really cute museum for if you have. It's not really one of those places you would go if you have kids that they're going to be entertained.
Yeah.
But this is a little curiosity that they sort of had on display. So I had my son with me, and they were like, "Oh, if he's interested in weird stuff," and I'm like, "I don't know about him, but I am.
Sure am.
I sure am.
Sure me.
Exactly." Let's see here. Oh, so it's the Fejee Mermaid, basically. Yeah.
There's a story about that in the Mermaid Museum in Berlin also.
Yeah. So they say it was likely, and I think they found it in 1985. And so the figurine is made of wired clay, fish skin, tooth, animal claws, wood, paper mache, and natural fiber. So
Sounds like a fun hobby.
I know. Just gonna make
the jackalope.
let's make mythical creatures. Just gonna make
Paper mache and
papier mache. So yeah, it's formally referred to as the Zwaanendael Fejee Mermaid. It was likely created in Japan during the 19th century for the foreign market. In the beginning of the 12th century, a visiting sea captain gifted this object to Sarah Martin's family of Lewes, Delaware. And so her
ended up there.
Yeah, her nephew was the captain of the Overfalls lightship, and he lent it to the museum for display in 1941, 63, 78, and then in 78, Ella Carpenter took ownership of it and continued to loan it to the museum. So that's kind of this. It was not, and it was funny because the curator was like, "It's definitely not what you expect it to be," and it really wasn't, because it's the weirdest looking creepy thing ever. I'm totally gonna post. It doesn't. I can never even describe it because it's just this weird. It's like a fish skeleton with ribs. It's just gross, and a monkey head.
And a monkey head.
Yes, that is an oddball curiosity. You freaks.
Put this in a museum.
No, why do you make this?
That sounds like a great hobby. I think we need to get into that. Taxiderming, body parts onto other bodies of animals.
I don't want to do that, but I have a ton of paper mache, so.
It sounds like something right up my daughter's alley.
There you go. Why don't you guys just give us your ideas and Crystal will paper mache your weird animals together? A menagerie.
So speaking of shipwrecks off of the Delaware coast, I just wanted to talk about this really cool thing that I found in this book. So this book is by Pam George. It's Shipwrecks on the Delaware Coast, Tales of pirates, squalls, and treasure.
And
So it's called the Curse of the Moon Cussers.
ooh,
So pirates and privateers would go out into the sea and rob people, but there were also thieves that would operate on land. So they would take a lantern and tie it to a nag, which is a horse, and make it look like it was a ship and a light like closer to the shore. So the way they would travel through the shoals would be they would try to hug the coast, so that they could navigate through the shoals around Delaware. And so they would go closer to the light, thinking that that's where the natural path where the ships are supposed to go through.
Oh,
And then they would end up shipwrecking on the shore because they got too close. So they're looking at this light, thinking it's a ship, and then they can't turn around that quickly. So now they're shipwrecked on the shore. And the people on the shore would go and, loot the boat or whatever. So it says that some say that is how Nag's Head, North Carolina got its name.
Oh, wow.
Is by attaching the lantern to the nag.
See your microphone.
Oh, thank you.
I never knew that.
It's neat. I just found that out like today.
Bad.
Yeah.
It's on good.
So, what was it? So they were called moon cussers because if the moon was bright, it would show them on the shore, and the ships wouldn't fall for it. So they would like curse the moon, like damn moon, you befouled us again.
That's crazy. Oh, I like that.
Yeah, who knew?
Oh, wow.
Next head.
Oh, man's head. All right, so I found one more. This is interesting because it's really, again, an unexpected resource. The Illustrated Encyclopedia of Fairies by Fritz Zimmerman, another awesome resource. He had a thing about mermen and mermaids. Let me see if I can. It might take me a minute, so I'll just do this. He talks about the net. So he talks about the net. Let me see what he says here. And it's another thing that everything kind of just like runs into each other. So it's nets, merman, and mermaids. Let's see here.
Neck, like N-E-C-K?
N-E-C-K, yeah. So the neck no more upon the river sings, and no mermaid to bleach her linen flings upon the waves in the mild solar ray. It is a prevalent opinion in the North that all of the various beings of the popular creed were once worsted in a conflict with superior powers and condemned to remain till doomsday in certain assigned abodes. So then he goes on to list the dwarfs, the elves, hill people, and where they were sent to caverns. Dwarves and trolls were appointed to the hills, elves to the groves and leafy trees, and then the mermen, mermaids, and next the sea, lakes, and rivers, the riverman, the small waterfalls. So this is actually this is Danish folklore that he's kind of pulling this from.
Yeah.
And so let's see what he says here. They are regarded as possessing considerable power over man and nature, and it is believed that though now unhappy, they will be eventually saved as it is expressed. So this is Danish folklore. The neck in Danish is a river spirit. The ideas representing him are various. Sometimes he is represented as sitting on summer nights on the surface of the water, like a pretty boy with golden hair hanging in ringlets and a red cap on his head. Sometimes as above the water, like a handsome young man, but beneath, like a horse.
Weird.
At other times, as an old man with a long beard, out of which he wrings the water as he sits on the cliffs. In the last form, Odin, according to the Icelandic sagas, has sometimes revealed himself. So this, he does a really good job, kind of tying all of the folklore and myth, into, the mythology of different, cultures.
Yeah.
In this book. But so this is actually kind of a cool little story it's told in parts of Sweden. 2 boys were one time playing near a river that ran by their father's house. The neck rose and sat on the surface of the water and played on his harp. But one of the children said to him, "What is the use, Neck, of you sitting there and playing? You will never be saved." The Neck then began to weep bitterly, flung away his harp, and sank down to the bottom. The children went home and told the whole story to their father, who was the parish priest. He said they were wrong to say so to the Neck and desired them to go immediately back to the river and console him with the promise of salvation. They did so, and when they did, when they came down to the river, the Neck was sitting on the water, weeping and lamenting. They then said to him, "Neck, do not grieve so." Hold on. "Do not grieve so. Our father says that your Redeemer liveth also." The Neck then took his harp and played most sweetly until long after the sun had gone down. This legend is also found in Denmark, but in less agreeable form. A clergyman, it is said, was journeying one night to, I'm going to just not pronounce this right, Roskilde in Zealand. His way led by a hill in which there was music and dancing and great merriment going forward. Some dwarves jumped suddenly out of it, stopped the carriage, and asked him where he was going. He replied that he was going to church. They asked him if he thought they could be saved. To that he replied he could not give an immediate answer. They then begged that he would give them a reply by next year. When he next passed and they made the same demand, he replied, "No, you are all damned." Scarcely he had spoken the word when the whole hill appeared in flames.
What?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So this is the Neck, and then it just kind of goes on from there. This is like a connection between like fairies, I guess, more so than actual mer people, like we're used to in the seas, but I've never heard of necks.
I've never either. I didn't know exactly what you were saying.
Yeah.
We spelled it.
Neck.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes sense with I don't know. I like the idea of that. Like, it makes sense that, like, that's where the hill people go. That's where we get dwarves.
Yeah.
It's where we get elves. Like, kind of like you were saying with, like, the spirits of the earth. Like, it makes a lot of sense if we kind of put it that way. Right?
So the element.
Yeah. The elementals again. Hold on. He said the Neck is very severe against any haughty maiden. Oh, okay.
Haughty.
So he's definitely, I guess they're more male. But that's interesting because I feel like this and then where the footprints ends, it's more like male and not like,
Yeah.
you know, when you
For
think
sure
of mermaid, you think like
Yeah.
Ariel.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, like
The siren.
the siren. Yeah.
Calls you to your death.
Yeah.
So that has
We didn't even like talk about that, which is
Yeah.
like the
that's the basis.
basic mermaid.
Like we were saying earlier, when you're out at sea for so long, your brain does play tricks on you. And I guess these men, they didn't have women on their ships because they were considered bad
luck.
Bad luck, yeah. So they probably went so long without seeing a woman that they saw this seal in the ocean and, you know, thought it was a drowned woman. Let me go save her. I have
Yeah.
a hero complex. And I also haven't seen a woman in a year. So I'm going to go get her.
I agree with not having women on ships, though. I would just be annoying. I would be terrible.
Well, I mean, maybe if you segregated the sexes, like if you just had a ship of women and a ship of men.
That sounds terrible, too.
I think I could do it.
No. I can't want to be on a boat with a bunch of women. No. Oh. I would just be in the hull.
In the hole. I'm just going to sit in the hole and control.
I'll be the scullery maid.
Here's your slop.
Just leave me alone.
Made an extra sloppy for you.
Come on. Wash the pots and not listen to any of you women. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Hoist the sails.
Poop deck. The poop deck. Okay, going to deck. Poop deck. I think we've reached the end
This is the end.
of its fine menagerie.
Oh.
So yeah, that's our I don't know, I feel like we just kind of do little primers.
Yeah.
Like, this is not exactly, if I were to like look at a thing and be like, oh, merman or mer people, I wouldn't think that we just, you know, you would tell that original story, right? Isn't it like a French story? Where did we get Ariel from?
Yeah, it is. It's French. Well, I thought Hans Christian Andersen like took the original
I think so.
story and made it into like The Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
And that's actually a really gross story.
Very dark.
It's yeah. She was like taken and not allowed to go back, and like didn't something weird happen? Like her feet got like
Yes.
like bloodied from not being able to stop dancing or something strange. Or am I thinking of something else? I don't know.
I don't know. Oh no, that was like wasn't that the 12 dancing princesses?
Oh yeah.
I disagreed because either way, yeah,
There was something about the sea foam. The sea foam was like,
not good.
yeah, I can't remember, but yeah, it wasn't like your cute little
No, it wasn't.
mermaid that you know from Disney.
No. Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
Little mermaid. So yeah, that'll do it on our little primer of mer people, Mersquatch, shipwrecks. Whoa, we covered a lot.
Yeah,
All in Delaware.
Eastern Shore.
Yeah, if you guys aren't like around or from the Eastern Shore and you can get here, we've got a lot of really
We have like some cool lore.
little shots and
Yeah.
yeah, we'll definitely have to do like a trip to Berlin.
Well, there's a lot more to it too. There's a lot of like haunted history in Berlin.
Mhm.
There's a little haunted history in Ocean City and Delaware and all these little historic towns.
Yeah.
The little historic towns have like a plethora of, information.
Yeah. I know. All right, good. All right, well, guys, thank you for listening. And until next time, bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to Sasquatch and Sourdough. I'm Christina, and thank you so much for tuning in. Sasquatch and Sourdough is so much more than just a podcast. We're a community of kindred spirits, united by our curiosity and fascination with the extraordinary. And we want to bring you into the conversation. So whether you've had a brush with the unexplainable, seen something that you can't quite wrap your head around, this is your space. We invite you to join us as we break bread and break down the barriers between the known and the unknown. If you want to share your story, you can email us at sasquatchandsourdough@gmail.com or send us a DM on Instagram. Until next time, remember, the truth is out there, God is with you, and everyone always ends up in the kitchen.